are bold, you are fearless, you are radiant. It's time to unlock the diamond from within. BFF, we rise above, stronger together, we shine with love. Faith unshaken, hearts on fire, fearless souls, we're reaching high.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the BFF Empowerment Podcast. I am your host, Blaque Diamond, and today we are celebrating Women's History Month, but not in the traditional sense of celebration. So this month is not just about honoring the women who came before us. It's also about recognizing that we are history in the making. And today I'm not just speaking as a podcast host. I'm speaking as a Black blind woman, a mother, an author, a creator, a queen, and also a woman who made the decision to create my own legacy. So this episode is personal. This episode is powerful. And this episode is proof that there are no limitations to what we can become. But before we jump into the meat and potatoes of the episode, let's do our weekly check-in, our weekly midday, midweek check-in to see what have I been up to.
What's going on? What's happening? Time for the midweek check-in. What's going on? What's happening? Time for the midweek check-in.
All right, ladies. So what have I been up to this week? Well, not necessarily just this week, but just in general, because it's been a minute since I talked to you guys. Just been a lot going on in my life and a lot of changes and things like that. So I'm trying to get myself back into the groove of things and recording on a regular basis. So the one major change in my life, as some of you know who've been listening to the podcast, I was in a situation where I was coming together, blending a family. Unfortunately, that situation did not work out, so I am now single again. But it's okay, you live and you learn, and sometimes things just don't work out. Also, I had the privilege of being a guest on the Babies Down, Bottles Up podcast, along with my other Sash sisters, getting to share our pageantry journey, the different things we've done since winning our titles, what things we're planning to do. We're currently in our recruitment season, so for any of you out there who are interested, who are blind and visually impaired, interested in finding out more information about the pageant and how to enter, definitely send me a message. And I'll be able to talk to you a little bit more about it if you're interested in becoming a contestant. Also, I've been working diligently on updating my No Limits Girl app, just fixing any bug fixes, anything that I've come across just with interacting with the app that I've realized needed to be changed or updated. So that's a constant, project that I'm working on just to get it as close to perfection as possible. Um, and lastly, just during this whole transition, I've just made the decision to, so for those of you who know, I was in school for human resources management, but I have decided to pivot and change my focus in my degree. So I am now going for my degree in health sciences. And also, I am earning my certification as an autism support coach. so that I can not only work better with helping my son, but I also want to be able to help others, whether adults or children, to better come to terms with their diagnosis and also just help them up with the skills and foundations that they need to be successful members of society. So that is my check-in. Thank you so much, guys. All right, so I am back. So since this episode is all about Women's History Month, I want to just tell you guys what Women's History Month means to me. So when I think about Women's History Month, I think about strength. I think about resilience. I think about women who broke barriers so that doors could open for you and me. But I also think about how no matter how many doors have been opened for women, there are still so many spaces where women like me, a Black blind woman, were never meant or expected to show up to. So there is just still so many places, spaces, environments where someone like me is not welcome or someone like me is not accepted. So, and let alone, to lead, we weren't expected to lead or be creators or to even dominate spaces at all. And yet, here I am. You're listening to me. I'm no longer basically asking for a seat at someone else's table. I'm actually building my own. Women's History Month for me is about representation. It's about visibility. And it's also about showing the world that no matter what society says I can't do, I get to decide who I become. I don't allow society to dictate what my life is going to be. And for those of you, who know my story, my journey, you've been here with me, my life history, and you know that things have never been easy for me. So I've always been in a state of survival, surviving something. I lost my sight, when I was 15 due to child abuse and neglect. And it's something that could have been prevented, but it wasn't. Um, and for a long time, I lived in survival mode, trying to find my place in a world that was never, designed for me. Something that looked totally different for me from being someone who could see to someone, now being blind. I was trying to process the pain that I never even asked for, trying to understand how such a just a devastating life altering condition could happen to me. Like, what did I do to deserve, this to happen to me? But here's what I learned during this whole process and learning about who I am and why I am the way I am. I had two choices. I could either become a victim of my circumstances, or I could become the author of my own story. And I chose to write. I chose to write my own history. I chose to rise out of everything that I've been through. And I chose to take everything that tried to break me and turned it into my purpose. And that's why you're listening to me now. Not too many people could survive 15 years of child abuse, be a victim of sexual abuse and incest at the hands of their own biological father. I also am a two-time survivor of domestic violence. I've been homeless. I am a single mom of a special needs child, and I've been doing it since day one. And I became a mom without my consent. So despite all of that, I'm still here. And most people in my situation who've survived some of the things that I've, survived, they turn to alcohol, they turn to sex, they turn to drugs, but I chose not to do any of that. I could have ended up being a statistic, but I made the choice to change my narrative. I made the choice to change my story and to create my own journey. So I turned my story into a story of strength. I chose to grow through what I went through. And I'm not going to tell you it was easy because it wasn't. And my faith was tested more times than not. But healing is key. I did a lot of self-work. I did a lot of the work necessary to allow myself to see myself then more than a victim. I did the work necessary to become who God intended me to be. And it was a long journey, a long, long process. And a lot of those nights I wanted to give up. I've committed, tried to commit suicide not once, but twice, during my journey and during my life. And there's times where I've contemplated it since, just depending on what I've been going through in life. But that strength and that determination to continue to make a difference in not only my life, but the life of others is the reason why I'm still here, the reason why I was not successful at my attempts. So God gave me my stories so that I could create my own history. He gave me the things that I went through so that I could be here to help others. So I'm writing my own history because everything I've built, everything that, every platform, every opportunity was created from a place of determination, a place of vision, a place of faith. So I'm not just surviving anymore. I'm actually thriving. I'm living to my potential. I'm living up to the expectations that I've not only set for myself, but God has also set for me. So I'm an award-winning author of over 15 books. Let me say that again. I'm an award-winning author that has written over 15 books, and I've won 4 awards for these books, spanning, many different genres, such as children literature. My latest children's book was Braille Superpower. Um, and I also won an award for my memoir, Stolen Innocence, A Survivor's Journey to Freedom. And, I've always, also written books with urban fiction themes. I've written books with contemporary African American fiction themes. So poetry, I'm well versed when it comes to being an author. My talents are very versatile. Um, I'm also a lyricist. I'm a songwriter, so I write under my pseudonym or my AI artist Soulful Sign. I've been writing music since I was a child. That was part of my therapy that helped to get me through the things that I've been through. And so writing was my form of releasing that pain. I took my pain and turned it into pages that could help other people, books, music, all of that. And those things were able to heal other people, to allow other people to see that what they're going through isn't what they have to continue to go through. Um, let's see, what else have I done? I've done a lot. I host this podcast, just to help you guys see that there is life after devastation. I open up this space to allow women to share their stories, to share their journeys, so that you can see that no matter what circumstances you may find yourself in, that there is a space where your voice is to be heard, where you don't have to remain silent. You can be that person that you need to be able to share your story and share your journey with others, and to see that other people are going through, have been through, know someone who has been through some of the same things that you've been through. So you're not alone. And that's the purpose of this space. I'm also a current title holder, Miss Altruistic 2025, um, by way of the Miss Blind Diva Empowerment pageant. It was my first pageantry experience. Never thought that would be something I would be into, but you know what? I took a chance on myself and decided to enter because I wanted to prove something to myself. That despite everything I've been through, the things that I've accomplished, that I could do something that was outside of my norm, something that kind of put me outside of my comfort zone. And so winning the title of Miss Altruistic 2025, it's representing not just a title, but a mission of service. It's a mission of impact and a mission of empowerment. And that's basically what I do. That's who I am. Um, let's see. I'm also a visionary, a visionary um entrepreneur. So I created my No Limits Girl Empowerment app to help young girls that are blind and visually impaired to see themselves beyond their visual impairment. When I was going through the journey as a 15-year-old, losing my sight, I didn't have anyone, helping me to feel confident. Like, I didn't have anybody to tell me that I could be anything that I wanted to be. I had to basically be that for myself. Um, I didn't have anybody telling me there were no limits to what I could achieve. I was told I would never amount to anything, that I would always have to have someone take care of me. So basically, I heard the opposite of, positive things. All I heard was nothing but negative things, and that was coming from the person that was supposed to groom me to be confident, the person that was supposed to show me that the world may see me as a limitation, but for me not to see myself that way. But instead, that's what I got. So I created this platform, to help young girls see that there are no limits to what they can achieve. All they have to do is dream it. They have to put in the work necessary to make it happen, because it's not going to happen for them. But this app is designed especially for blind and visually impaired girls. Now, girls who aren't visually impaired or blind can also use it, but just during my process, I've seen that there aren't really any platforms, anything to help girls who are blind and visually impaired feel confident in themselves, to see themselves. Everything is projected, vision, 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 vision. That's what beauty is, that's what being successful is. So this platform is here to give girls access to tools, resources, and also experiences that the world often overlooks when it comes to being blind and visually impaired. Because I didn't just succeed. I pushed and I fought and I've, made the path for myself. I wanted to make sure that the next generation of girls like me, who are teenagers, who are young girls, have a smoother path than I did. I'm also a motivational speaker, sharing my story across the world, across different platforms. I've been on podcasts, I've been on blogs, I've been on TV. I've even been on radio, sharing my journey and just reminding people everywhere that their circumstances do not define them. You may be a product of your environment. You may, have been in a situation where your living situation was not good, but you can make the choice to turn that around. This is what it looks like to build your own legacy. So I'm making the conscious choice to build something different, to build a foundation for myself, for, the people that come after me. Because of all that I've been through, I earned the nickname No Limits. And as we all know, my journey has not been easy. And I earned this nickname because of life and what I've experienced. So it's because I made the decision not to allow my life's circumstances to control my future. So being no limits doesn't mean that, things are easy, that I don't have to go through anything. No limits doesn't mean that I don't still struggle. It doesn't mean that I still don't cry. And it doesn't mean that I still don't experience pain. Um, it doesn't mean that life isn't still hard for me. It just means that I don't stay down. It also means that I get back up when I fall. It means I still enjoy all the things that life has to offer. It means that I still look at each day as a blessing. No matter how much has been stacked against me, I stay looking ahead. I stay believing. I stay looking for the next opportunity to better myself. Um, and just knowing who I am, this journey has also taught me that what someone else may say is impossible for me, I make possible. So I transform that impossible to I am possible. And that's the energy that I walk in. I don't let someone else dictate to me what I can and cannot do. I allow myself to show up and show out and let the world see who I am, and I represent who I am, not by just talking about it, by actually doing the actions necessary to prove that I am who I say I am. Now, let me also talk about my greatest title, being a mother, because my legacy isn't just about what I've built, it's also about who I'm raising. I'm raising a young Black king who has autism along with other conditions. But I'm a living example for him that despite his disability, despite what society may think his limitations are, I'm showing and teaching him that he has no limitations. He may have to do things a little bit differently depending on what his capabilities are, but they're not impossible. And as a single mother, a single Black blind mother at that, and I want to emphasize blind because most people think that if you're blind, there's no point in living life. You can't be a mother, you can't be an author, you can't be an employee, you can't be anything outside of being blind. So blindness is a characteristic. It's the same as me being Black, it's the same as me being a woman, me being any and everything. It's a characteristic. It's not who I am. And I think I'm doing a great, great, great job with raising him without any support. And I've never had support. He doesn't want for anything. He's never missed anything. And I've been doing this from day one, even though I didn't make the choice to become a mother. That choice was made for me. That choice was taken away from me. But I embrace it and I do what's necessary to make sure that my son knows that he is loved, that he is supported, and whatever it is he wants to do, I will always have his back. Now, there are days where it's very trying. It's very hard. It's very frustrating. It's very stressful because not only does my son have autism, he also has separation anxiety, so he will not stay with anyone. He's very attached to me. And in some ways, I feel like God made him the way he is for a reason. Throughout my life, I've always been alone. I've never had anybody here to support me. Now I'm in a situation where I have a child that, although sometimes, I want my space and I want my time to myself, but basically I'm that support for him so that he'll never be alone. Even if he doesn't have siblings, even if he doesn't have friends, he's always going to have me. And that's my little road dog. That's my best friend. That's my reason for being. But despite all the struggles, despite all the hard days, the dark days, I wouldn't change my child for anything in this world. He is perfectly perfect the way he is. He brings me laughter, he brings me joy when I'm stressed out, even when he may be the reason why I'm stressed out. He's my peace. He brings me that peace. And so our bond is just phenomenal. Like he reminds me every day why I get up and why I keep going. He reminds me of my purpose. And no matter what we go through, we have each other. No matter what days, whatever months, years go by, like we're always going to have each other. And he is part of my purpose. He is part of my legacy that I'm leaving behind for the next generation. Um, and I'm happy with what I've done so far up to this point. And so legacy is not just about fame. You don't have to be famous to leave a legacy. It's not about clout. It's not about, validation or feeling that you have to be known worldwide or internationally for the things that you do. Legacy is about impact. What message are you leaving? What impact are you bringing to the world? What piece of positivity are you leaving behind? It's about creating something that lives beyond you. And that's what I'm doing. Not only just through my son, but just through the things that I'm doing and I'm accomplishing. It's also about opening doors, breaking stereotypes and breaking cycles. Like for me, my cycle has always been abuse. I'm breaking that cycle. And I'm also making sure that someone else can walk through life a little easier because I existed. So a little blind girl that may come behind me, um, she's not going to have to struggle as hard as I had to. Everything I do from my books to this podcast to my app is all about impact. It's about access. It's about making sure the next generation knows that there are no limits to who they can become. And that's what I'm here for. Like, this is what drives me. This is what makes my world go around. This is what I'm here for. This is my purpose in life. So now I want to ask you something. What are you building? What is your legacy going to look like? What is it going to be? What are you doing right now that your future self, your future children, your community, what is something that you're doing that people will thank you for? Because you don't have to wait to be recognized. You don't have to wait to be chosen. You don't have to wait for permission. You are already enough. Let me tell you that again. You are already enough. You don't have to wait for someone to tell you that you're enough. You don't have to, read a book of motivation or an inspirational quote or something for you to feel that you're enough. You are enough. God made you enough. Even if society and no one else thinks you're enough, you're exactly who you were meant to be. You are already powerful. Even though you may feel powerless, you are already powerful. And you are already capable of creating something great. It took me a long time to get to this point, to this mindset, to thinking and knowing that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Because sometimes, yeah, I felt like I wasn't making a difference, that I wasn't doing enough, that my impact wouldn't be felt, or the message that I was trying to portray was not being heard or felt. But you know what? I kept going, and I keep going. Being a person that's positive doesn't mean that you don't have insecurities. It doesn't mean that you don't doubt yourself. Everyone does. The most beautiful people doubt themselves. The most successful people doubt themselves. So you're not incapable of having insecurities or having doubt. It's what you do with those doubts and insecurities that determines how successful you are. So you can let those doubts and insecurities hold you back, or you can decide that despite these insecurities or these doubts, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to overcome these doubts and insecurities. I'm going to prove myself worthy of being successful. And that's what you have to do. Women's History Month is not just something we, celebrate. It's something we live. We live our history every single day. Every step you take, every goal you chase, every opportunity that you take advantage of, every obstacle you overcome, you are writing your history. So don't play small. Don't dim your light. I'm all about shining bright like the diamond that you are. And don't let anyone, I mean anyone, convince you that you are not worth succeeding, that you are not worth standing strong for, that you are not worth the things that you are trying to achieve, because you are. You are worth everything, every attempt, everything that you have that you're trying to do, you are worth it. And you have to know that in order for it to be right for you. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. Be sure to follow the podcast on all major podcasting platforms. Also, follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at BFF Empowerment Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review or a rating on your favorite podcasting platform to help others discover their next women's empowerment podcast. Be sure to also visit our website at bffempowermentpodcast.com. Subscribe to our blog so that you can keep up to date with the latest and greatest going on the podcast. And until next time, everyone, thank you so much for listening.